Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes just to let people work their way through. Yeah, I can see everyone's dropping in now. Can you just drop in the chat, please, just to say that you can hear me loud and clear, and there's no issues. You don't have to all jump at once. But yeah, if somebody could just confirm in the chat, or if you just some kind of signal to me to say that you can all hear me, absolutely fine. Perfect. Thank you. You see, like buses, everybody comes shooting in at the same time. Much appreciated. So, where are we on now? I think what we'll do, given that we've a shorter time to run through this, we will get started, and then if anybody joins, we are going to be sending the recording through later as well. So firstly, thank you everybody for taking your time to sit and listen to me talk for the next 30 to 45 minutes. My name is Sam Horner. I am the head of advisor sales and partnerships here at Swoop. If you don't know me, I've been in this industry for just under 8 years. Worked with Dext, or Receipt Bank as I would have known it, for around 4, Futurely for 2, where I built a partnership with Swoop. Fell in love with what they were doing, and then came over to join Swoop just under 2 years ago. Today, what we're going to run through is have a talk about Swoop itself, talk about also how we support accountants, advisors and bookkeepers in supporting them with one internally, but also how we can support you for out-facing working with your clients as well. I do encourage questions throughout, and I will try my best to answer every question that is asked. If I don't know the answer, I will try rather than trying to muddle my way through, I will go away and get the answer for you. We will also share as well a link to my diary. So if anybody wants to have a conversation after the webinar, then I'm more than happy to book some time in and run through that with me as well. Okay, so and again, if anybody has any questions, like I say, just keep firing them through. I am going to get started. I'm going to share screen with you, and I'm just going to talk you through what we do at Swoop and how we support our advisors. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, and I'll put it on full present mode. So Swoop, to give you a background of Swoop, we are 5 years old and we turned 5 this month. Swoop has around 100,000 small businesses transacting and working with the platform. We're ultimately born in Ireland, but our main presence is in the UK. So we have the UK, Ireland, Australia, Canada, and the US. So we're ultimately a global business. We are rapidly growing at a crazy rate, which I'm sure you can understand, especially given COVID. The CBILS and bounce backs certainly made I suppose, funding a more relevant subject for most small businesses. Now, where do we work at Swoop? What do we do? How do we operate? So Swoop takes a holistic view of funding. So debt isn't always the answer for your clients, and indeed for yourselves. So we will look at all aspects of funding. Whether it be grants, so we have a grant finding tool that has over 450 grants currently on there within the UK. Now, naturally, we're not going to highlight every grant that's on there for your clients. It's simply based on the location and sector. So when you add a client to our advisor portal, we will then pull data from their SIC code and their location. If they're a sole trader or they're not registered with Companies House, then you can manually input this information. And then based on that information, we will then display the grants that are currently available to that business. Now, it's not saying that they're nailed on to get them, but because of the location and sector they're in, these perhaps are the 6 grants that are available. The grants could be anything from national grants at £1,000 all the way through to innovate grants that could be anything up to about £5 million. Now, the grants themselves, we will give you an overview of the criteria of the grant, the eligibility, and then if it's something of a smaller grant, say under 20,000, it's more of a signposting exercise. So, at the moment there is a digital grant available for perhaps building websites or help with digital marketing. That's a national grant, and that's up to £10,000. That would be simple, where we'll just put a link on there, eligibility criteria, and then a link out so you can apply direct. Anything over 20,000, we have a team of grant writers that can work with you and your client. Again, it's just understanding if the business is suited to this particular fund that's available, and then working on to understand whether it's something that ultimately we can support with, and fingers crossed, and the ultimate goal is that they get the grant that they require. We also support from an R&D perspective as well. Now, I know there's probably some of you listening right now go, well, we do R&D in-house, or we outsource to another member. We're not here to replace your existing service, if you're doing it internally, but we are here to support you if there's perhaps, you're at capacity, or you're thinking about actually with all the legislation changes, is it still an area that I want to support in? We can absolutely support you on there. We have a 100% success record, and that's simply because we only will work with, ultimately the legitimate change cases to go through. We also want to look at other areas of funding. Now, it's worth adding, actually, from the grants perspective, the way that a lot of our accountants and advisors work with the grant funding tool at the moment. So in practice, and actually, if you're an ICAW member, you may be registered for the webinar that's happening tomorrow with the other Sam TG, and also Stuart from Harris Beale and Owen. That Harris Beale and Owen are one of our partners, and they've been working for us for probably about 9 months now. And the way that they work, not to give away Stuart's secret on the call tomorrow, but the way that they work, every client, when they're running a review for them, or they're coming to do the year-end accounts or quarterly management reviews, whatever it may be, they will quickly check on the system to see what grants are available. And in some cases, they actually apply for the grants on behalf of their clients. Now, they've had over £100,000 worth of successful grants, anything from support, I think it's £30,000 towards EV charging points and solar panels for one of their clients, down to £1,000 National Lottery grant. But what they're seeing and the response they're getting from their clients is the huge value add that they're offering them that they didn't have before, or their accountant down the road doesn't deliver the same service. It's about being able to say, even if there isn't a grant currently available for them, it's the fact that you're actually looking for it, and you're constantly checking for the what's right for the client and how you can best serve them. Another area that we truly think that you can really add value to clients is looking at the savings. And when we talk about savings, we're talking about the business savings. Now, whether it's a client that's looking for funding and the serviceability of that loan isn't there in the business, or if actually just simply we're trying to make tidy up the accounts and make sure that they're running as efficient as possible, we will look at all areas or a number of areas to see where we could make business savings for them. So it could be reviewing their foreign exchange charges. On average, we're saving about £5,000–6,000 a year on FX charges. Now, if your client is putting their foreign exchange through their bank, then in reality, they're probably being fleeced on there. So it's always worth reviewing. And you know what? If they've got the best deal right now, then great. It just, that gives them comfort that they have the best deal in the market. So we would always encourage that review. Energy bills, a lot of people say that energy bills, oh gosh, everything's gone up. You can't get a good rate anywhere. Quite frankly, that's a load of rubbish. Yes, the rates have gone up. I know we're seeing the cap reducing in July, but actually the business that's on a deal right now, or not on a deal as it may be, it's always worth a reviewing. So all we need is the latest statement or the latest energy bill. Then we can take that away, review it. If there isn't a saving, we'll put them on a tracking service and we'll notify them when there is. If there is a saving, then again, obviously you can then share the good news with your client and show them what's potentially savings they can make. Also, from an insurance perspective, a business current accounts as well. We'll also look to see what the business is currently paying with their provider and see other areas or other banking providers that could potentially make savings for them. And speaking of savings, we also have a deposit service as well. So we're not just looking at, okay, what debt services are available for a client, or what I suppose, how can we put some more debt on the books for the client. It's about saying, actually, your cash rich clients, ones that might have 100,000, 10,000, 10 million sitting in an account that's bearing no interest. Currently, we can offer 3% instant access. Now, the provider we work with, they will spread the risk. So taking into consideration the £85,000 that each institution is secured on, they will actually spread it across a number of providers for you. So an easy one for me for maths is £850,000 has been deposited. They would spread that across 10 institutions. Now, what that means for you, also it's business and personal savings as well, this is. So what that means for you and your client is they just have one login, one account, but ultimately it's spread across. They'll still get the benefit of the interest rates, but it means that they're no longer, they don't have to knock on the door. And I remember the days when the ruling came in. I actually worked in the bank and it was painful, the amount of people that came to me with a check of 85,000 and then they went to Santander, they went wherever, with all, trying to mitigate the risk. So yeah, again, we can look at the more cash rich clients for you as well. As I say, instant access from 3%, and we can get up to 5%, depending on obviously what term they want to fix in at. Savings is a really, really nice, again, value add service, especially if you have that data to hand. If you're using a Dext or a Hub Doc or an auto entry or something, a lot of that information or sits in Xero or wherever. That information, we can analyze and then obviously feed that back to you, and then obviously you can deliver the good news to your clients as well. We also look to support businesses from an equity perspective as well. Now, it's not something you come across on a day-to-day basis, unless you specialize obviously in high growth scaled up businesses. But ultimately, we have a network of about 250 investors. That ranges from crowdfunding, SEIS, EIS, family office, venture capital, high net worths and angels. The idea being that our team can work with you and your client. It all starts with a pitch deck ultimately, and we will work closely with your client, firstly to understand if it's an investable business. If it is, it's then about working with them to get them as close to investor ready as possible. Once we're at that stage, then we will actually match them with the investors that we have within our panel. So again, hopefully you're seeing this picture where you can go off and build all these relationships and manage them yourselves, or you can just have it under one roof where you're simply just adding the client to the system, a bit of information delivered to us, and then we can, based on that information, we can then go out and find the right products and solutions for you and your clients. Same from a debt perspective as well. Now, we aim to support small businesses from day one through to exit. So we can do anything from a startup loan with the British Business Bank at £500, all the way through to a £50 million complex fund. So we don't just silo or focus on one area, but what we have done is we've created specialist teams based on the area and the sector in terms of a specific type of funding. For example, we split out asset finance, invoice finance, commercial property team. They can do anything from £100,000 fish and chip shop all the way through to about 15 million. Might be a 26-site care group. We have a corporate funding team, which again work closely with corporate finance teams within accounting firms. They typically look at transactions of around £1 million and above. That can be anything from management buyouts, management buy-ins, employment ownership trusts, acquisition funding. In fact, we deal with a lot of acquisition funding for accounting firms, ones that are looking for a buy and build strategy. And we recently funded 3 that are on that journey, the start of the journey to then go out and acquire other accounting practices as well. So we truly have built that platform, and I want to find another phrase for it that isn't this, but we are truly a one-stop shop for your clients' funding and savings needs. If anybody has any questions at this point, then please fire them in, because I'd love to answer that anybody has. Now, there was a question that came in through Henry prior to the session, and the question was around: do you need to be an FCA regulated to deliver funding to clients? The answer is no. We are the FCA regulated body, so you are classed as an introducer, and we cover that through when you come on board as a Swoop advisor, and we will cover that within our due diligence and the contract that we share with you. But ultimately, you are introducing the client. Now, the important thing to remember when you do add a client to the system, it is your client. We would never market to your client or pick up the phone to them direct. We liaise with you as the advisor. Now, once a client has been added to the system, we will then ask you a few questions around the client, maybe ask for some more information on the financials. So, for example, asking around the, probably 2 years account, 6 months bank statements, that kind of thing. And once we have that information, we'll match it with the correct funding manager within Swoop. And then we will then entirely up to you how you want to work it, because again, it's your client. We can speak to the client direct. We can, sit in the background and you liaise with the client and like we don't exist. Or the more typical one is it's a hybrid where we are on a meeting with yourself and the client, and we'll be having the discussions, because ultimately they know their business, but you know their numbers. So it makes the process so much smoother. And there's a lot, tends to be things that they don't quite understand from technical terms. And again, that you can be there as the translator as well. So that's just a little bit about Swoop and, how we engage with our advisors. I guess the other things to cover off, and, I can share this presentation after as well, or we'll share it when we share the recording. This just gives you an idea of the types of savings that we're making currently for the businesses that we work with. Some really, really nice success stories on there. And again, a huge value add that you can deliver to clients, and it's very easy. We do the legwork for you. I think that's the bit to point out. Once the information has been shared, then we can do everything off the back of that. I covered it a moment ago. Really is designed to support small businesses from day one through to exit. And again, this just gives you an indication of the types of products and services that are available to various different businesses. Some of the ugly mugs on here. The one that I wanted to focus on is the one on the right hand side, the other Sam. So those of you who don't know Sam Tasker-Brindley, he is a chartered accountant by trade. The reality of the relationship is I sell the dream, Sam delivers the dream, or Sam's team delivers the dream. And the way or what we pride ourselves on is understanding you as an advisor. Every advisor, accountant, bookkeeper, CFO, FD, whoever we're working with has a different goal and what they want to achieve. So ultimately we need to work out how we best support you. And there's various ways we can do that. but we would we want to understand you as an individual and as a firm to see how we can best work with both you, your team, and your clients. So as I alluded to, Sam is a chartered accountant by trade, ICAW trained. He's also the vice president of Yorkshire as well, district. So he's heavily involved in the industry and worked in practice for 8 years. So again, he understands things and talk to a different language that I can't, which again, is hugely powerful when onboarding and working closer with our members. We also want to give you and your team the understanding and the base understanding that is of different aspects of funding. Now, we have the experts in the background. You can be assured that they will, do what's best for you and your client. But we want to help you have the knowledge to have the conversation. Now, the research that we did when we were launching the channel around education was the reason typically, advisors don't speak to clients around funding is because it's an area they're not confident around. So we built bite-sized modules, which you'll see, half an hour, 45 minutes on different modules to understand that funding landscape, but not to make you the expert. As I alluded to earlier, we have the experts that sit in the background. Now, what we also do as well, going back to understanding you as a practice and how you want to, what your main focus is, we will also look to build masterclasses for you. So you might say, do you know what, the majority of my clients are property led. Then we'll get our commercial property experts in and we'll run some masterclasses on working with and understanding more about commercial property and what things to look out for, how to spot opportunities to have those conversations. You might say grants is a real focus and a key area for us. We work with a lot of charities and CICs, for example. Then we'll get our grant specialists in to work with you. It really is down to you and what you want to achieve and how you want to, what gaps you have in your knowledge and where you would like us to focus. We also want to be able to facilitate the conversation as well. So we will give you access to, and you can run up to 20 reports per month on your clients and also prospects. Now, your logo would be on here, completely white labeled, and based on publicly available information, can't say that one, we will then pull a report on your client. So the first thing we will do is expose their credit score. Now, the stats are something like 90% of individuals know their credit score, and something like 15% of businesses know their credit score. Now, it's crazy because the reality is you're probably going to be more likely to need funding within business than you are personal, and actually the credit score is more important within the business. So, for example, anything that's typically under about 45 from a credit score is going to be difficult to fund. Now, we have partners that will support and work with your client to help improve that credit score, but also things like energy. So if your client was looking at a new provider, if they have a poor credit score, because the energy provider buys that block of energy ultimately, over a 12-month period, they buy it in advance or they secure it in advance. If your credit score is a low credit score, you are high risk to that provider, and they will take up to 25% as a deposit or an escrow, as it were, because of your credit rating. So it's really impacting businesses now. If you think you've got £100,000 bill for the year, and all of a sudden you've got to put find £25,000 just to keep your heating and lights on. There's a real concern there. So again, really important to understand that. We also pull information like a risk of default score. This is something that funders use internally. You don't normally see on the open market, but we're exposing it to help you understand how lenders will look at you or look at your clients. We'll also pull information from Companies House. Now, based on that information, then we will look at what areas we think we can support the client. So, for example, this one here, they're over 7 years old, but they've got a sustainable approach. So the potential equity investors. We can see 3 grants we've identified that we think could be suited to the business. And also they've got over £85,000 in their current account there's potential business savings for them. Now, this document here is all about creating conversation with a client. You know, you might want to run it in with a prospect meeting. You might want to run it through Josie. Sorry, you had to leave. You might want to run it through in a review with your client. Essentially, you use it as a backdrop of the conversation. Did you know? Are you aware? And it really starts the conversation moving and really supports them. We also want to help you, again, because funding isn't a core part of what an accounting firm or an advisor does. We want to be able to support you from a marketing perspective. Now, I mentioned earlier, we have over 100,000 small businesses. We haven't built that by word of mouth. We've built that by building a marketing machine and sharing, you know, useful content that has obviously attracted businesses to read on more. We give you access to that library of content. Now, you can do what you want with the articles. You can white label them. You can just send them out as Swoop. But we're giving you access to that information, whether it be an e-commerce campaign, whether it be construction related to asset finance, for example, might be super deduction. Whatever the articles are, we're saying you've got access to that, and we're giving you that library to be able to share. Now, we will also support you with help you build these. So we did this recently for one of our partners that wanted to share with all his clients about the savings offering that we have. So we built an email campaign for him to be able to share that far and wide. We'll also support you with social content. If you're ever on LinkedIn or Instagram, you may see some of our partners sharing some of the successes that they've had in supporting their clients with their growth and so on. But again, we really want to be able to help you in any way that we can. And it doesn't need to be to obviously existing clients. It can be help winning new business as well via prospects. Another way we can help you do that as well is by giving you the ability to white label Swoop. So where we talk about the 100,000 small businesses, they've gone through a sign-up journey on our website. And the journey that they go through obviously is a Swoop branded version. But you can have your own version of that. Now, the only thing that you would ever see is when they log into Swoop, it will just say at the bottom, so you can see here, when they log into your version, they will just see powered by Swoop at the bottom of it. We have accountants and advisors that use this in various different ways. Some use it to attract new business, and especially with the grant finder, it's a case of going out to market and saying, look, why not have a look to see what grants are available? You know, as Joe Blogs Accountancy, we're here to support all small businesses. See what's available for you. Now, when they go through that sign-up journey, they also get access to look to see what funding is available. They can, you know, they can review their utilities, bank switching, all of those services that we talked about earlier. They have access to do that because they've signed themselves up. But what they also do is they appear in your advisor portal, which is ultimately the back end, and you will be able to see, you know, their name, contact number, email address, and everything. So ultimately, you can pick up the phone to them and say, "Great, you've used us for our grants, or you've used it for this or the other. Are you aware we can also support you in other areas?" So it's a great, I guess, an upsell tool from that respect. But also, you might want to use it for your existing clients, and rather than you having the you know, adding them to the back end, let them do and go through the journey themselves, and then you join in at whatever point that, you know, they need you in terms of the financials and perhaps, you know, more of a consultation. But again, it's working really well to be able to, I guess, spread that message and that word, and a lot have built it into their website as well as a core part of their offerings and what they do. Now comes the money shot, I guess. So the way that Swoop works, we run a subscription model. I'm sure you'll agree. Hopefully you're all nodding behind the camera because it's weird when I'm shouting into nothing. But the service and everything that we deliver, you know, when we look at the way that we built the pricing so it wasn't a barrier to entry. It's more actually just a recognition of obviously the service that we provide. But anyway, for the all singing, all dancing white label version, we charge £350 plus VAT. That we also give you a 30% commission. So When I talk about commission, we get paid from the lender or the funder, should I say. Now, in 99% of the time, that's the case. So your client needs £100,000 of cash flow lending. We get them £100,000 of cash flow lending, and when we get paid from the funder. Now, being transparent, £100,000, we typically get paid about £5,000. So what we're saying there is you will receive 30% of that, or 25%, depending on which plan you work with. You can do what you want with that. And we have a number of advisors that do various different things. So we have some that plants trees with it. They have a pledge to plant a certain number of trees. So they will, anything they receive goes towards planting trees. We have others that take it as an additional revenue stream. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. We have some that put it in a staff pot and they take them to Alton Towers or Thorpe Park, whatever, at Christmas. And then we have others that either pass it to their client or they actually put it to additional services for the client. So say, for example, you know, that example I used earlier, so £2,000, £2,000. They say to the client, look, we're giving you this as a credit for additional services. So they might turn around and go, well, okay, actually, we talked about doing some forecasting for you. Actually, let's put this towards paying for the forecasting. And once that amount has run out, it's then about, okay, you're now seeing the benefit of the forecasting, you know, regular forecasting and management accounts, let's say. You're now seeing the benefit of it. Actually, is this a service you want to continue? Yes, it is. Okay, well, you know, moving forward, it'll be an additional £500 or, you know, whatever it may be per month, which then means that there's another reason for that client to work with you and to stay with you. They're getting more value from it, and also you're getting a more loyal customer as well. So it's a really nice way of playing it. But again, it is yours. No one judges you. You can do what you want. All the institutes are signed off. We have letters of engagement as well, if you don't already have them, that will obviously show that you're receiving commission from us. I will point out, if it is a commercial property, we do charge typically a 1% fee, because, and I'm sure you appreciate, same with complex funding, you know, typically over £1 million, because it's complex, it typically, you know, turnaround time is 2 to 3 months or something along those lines, you know, typically down to legals. So there's a lot more work involved, but we only charge that when there's an actual offer on the table that has been, you know, credit backed offer that is on the table, that the charges come into play. Yeah, so we give you access to, sorry, worth covering the contract piece. It's an initial 6-month contract, and then it runs to a rolling monthly contract. Now, the reason we put that in place is there's build time, there's hosting of the webs, you know, of the web domain and everything for the white label. So it's just the initial upfront, but then it runs to a rolling monthly. We give you 20 capital reports a month, and up to 10 people get access to the platform and also the CPD accredited education. You'll see also all the other bells and whistles that I've gone through are all covered on there as well. And then the advisor plan, which you probably all had time to read it by now, we charge 195 plus VAT. We do reduce the number of benefits, or the number of like users. Commission reduces slightly. Contract term reduces to 3 months and then a monthly rolling. And then we give you 10 capital reports per month. But the key difference on that one is the white label, which we moved. Now, the biggest, although, you know, these additional benefits are great, you know, the commission and everything else, but the biggest thing that we get the feedback is the support. It's the way that we can change the conversation, but also help spot opportunities to support your clients. And it's not ramming debt down their necks, because that's absolutely not what we want to do. We want to be a long-term sustainable solution for our accountants and advisors and their clients. So it's about working with you and finding where we can best support them. And that might be, you know, reviewing existing charges they have. It might be looking at, you know, having that conversation around where the business is now, you know, what their plans are for growth and so on. So it really is, there's a whole multitude of things. But again, you know, even with those clients who aren't looking for funding, there's things we can do for them, you know, whether it be savings, deposits accounts, utilities, all of that, grants, for example. There's definitely, we should be able to touch upon, the majority, if not all of your clients at some point. I'm now going to open the floor up to any questions. I know Josie popped in, just said that she had to disappear. Does anybody who's on the chat have any questions for me right now? I do also worry at this one because I never know whether it's everyone's too quiet to ask or whether it's actually because I've answered everything that everybody's satisfied. So I genuinely don't know what the response is there, or whether it's a good thing. I will give it 1 more minute. You will also notice as well, my colleague Maria has kindly popped in my diary into the chat as well. So if anybody does want to discuss further and they want a one-to-one, by all means, do book some time in with me, and I'll happily chat that through. Given that nobody has responded, I think we could probably give you 9 minutes back of your life. So I just want to thank you, firstly, for taking the time out. Again, if you have any questions or you want to run through anything, then please do let me know. Oh, I can see there's actually a question come through. Thank you, Jonathan. Do you now have to be on the monthly subscription to access Swoop? Good question, Jonathan. We do have a free version. We do absolutely have a free version. The free version is, I guess, it's more of a plug and play solution. So you can still look and do searches for clients funding. You can, we'll still, obviously the funding manager will still work with you to find the best solution for your client. Absolutely, that still exists. But from a support perspective, from I guess, building this as a core part of your service and being able to work closely with your clients, that's where the subscription model comes in. So yes, thank you, Jonathan, for asking the question there. But yeah, it still does exist. And again, that is something that we can provide if so required. Cool. Well, I think that's it. Yeah, I will leave you all to your day. Again, thank you for joining, and hopefully we will speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.